When someone posts indirect messages, it often sparks curiosity, confusion, and sometimes even frustration. Social media has become a place where people no longer always speak directly about how they feel. Instead, they use hints, coded language, or vague updates that seem like they are meant for everyone, but in reality, they are often directed at one specific person. Have you ever scrolled through your feed and seen a quote, a song lyric, or a cryptic sentence that makes you wonder who it's about? Chances are, it's not just a random post. It's an indirect message with an emotional target. People post indirect messages because direct confrontation feels too risky. Saying something openly can expose their vulnerability, and not everyone is comfortable with that. An indirect post gives them a way to express their emotions without having to deal with the immediate response. They get the relief of letting their feelings out while keeping a layer of distance. It's a way of speaking loudly, yet still hiding behind the safety of the screen. One of the most common reasons behind these indirect posts is the desire for attention. Sometimes people feel ignored or undervalued by someone they care about. They may not want to text or call that person directly, but they want to make sure their feelings are noticed. So instead, they post something vague like, "Funny how some people change when they no longer need you." It's not addressed to anyone by name, but the person it's meant for will probably recognize themselves. It becomes a silent way of saying, "I want you to see this and know it's about you." Another reason people share indirect messages is because they want validation. They might be struggling emotionally, but they don't want to appear weak or desperate. By posting indirectly, they open the door for friends, followers, or even strangers to comment with support. A simple message like, "Some wounds never heal," can attract responses like, "Stay strong," or "I'm here for you." This creates a sense of connection without requiring the person to admit exactly what's going on. Sometimes indirect posts are about testing boundaries. Imagine someone is upset with their partner, but doesn't want to start a fight. Instead of confronting them directly, they post a quote about betrayal or disappointment. This serves two purposes. First, it lets them release their frustration. Second, it acts as a subtle way of checking if their partner notices. If the partner responds, they know they've been heard. If not, the silence might confirm their fears. In this way, indirect posts become a quiet test of how much someone cares. Of course, indirect messages can also be used as a form of manipulation. Some people know exactly what they are doing when they post them. They use these vague statements to make others feel guilty, insecure, or even jealous. A status like, "Some people don't know how to value loyalty," can leave friends or partners wondering if they're the ones being accused. Instead of addressing issues directly, the person posting creates confusion, making others chase after answers. This strategy often gives them a sense of control, even though it creates emotional tension. Indirect posts can also reveal emotional immaturity. Many people struggle to communicate directly when they're hurt or upset. Instead of saying, "I felt left out," they post something like, "It's sad when people forget the ones who were always there for them." It feels safer to complain to the world than to face one person. But while it may temporarily relieve their feelings, it usually doesn't solve the underlying issue. The problem remains, and often the indirectness only makes relationships more complicated. There's also the element of pride. Direct communication sometimes feels like admitting defeat. For example, if someone misses you but doesn't want to admit it, they might post a quote like, "The hardest thing is pretending you're okay when you're not." It's their way of reaching out without appearing needy. They hope you'll notice and respond, but they don't want to make the first move openly. Their pride pushes them into using hints instead of words. Another subtle reason behind indirect posting is that people want to protect themselves from rejection. If they confess their feelings directly, they risk being ignored or dismissed. But if they post indirectly, they can always claim it wasn't about anyone in particular. It gives them an escape. They can share their emotions without being fully accountable for them. It's like sending out a message in a bottle. You hope the right person finds it, but you can always pretend it was just a random thought. Sometimes indirect posts are simply a cry for help. People who feel lonely, depressed, or overwhelmed may not know how to ask for support directly. Instead, they post sad quotes, dark song lyrics, or vague expressions of pain. To an outsider, it may seem dramatic. But to the person posting, it's a way of reaching out without having to say, "I'm struggling." It's their attempt to signal their feelings, hoping someone close will notice and check on them. It's also worth noting that indirect messages can sometimes be a reflection of the person's inner conflict. They may not even be sure what they want. On one hand, they want to express themselves. On the other, they want to keep their emotions hidden. So they choose the middle path, being seen but not fully understood. It allows them to deal with their feelings privately while still gaining some form of emotional release. But what should you do if you notice someone posting indirect messages about you? The best approach is not to respond online but to address it privately. Reach out and ask if they're okay, or if something is bothering them. Often, the reason they're posting indirectly is because they don't feel safe enough to say it directly. By creating an open and safe space, you may encourage them to express their real feelings. On the flip side, if you find yourself tempted to post indirect messages, it may help to pause and reflect. What are you really hoping to achieve? Do you want attention, validation, or resolution? Posting indirectly may give you temporary relief, but it rarely fixes the deeper issue. Clear and honest communication, while uncomfortable, usually leads to healthier and more meaningful connections. In the end, indirect messages are a reflection of human psychology in the digital age. They show how much people crave to be heard, understood, and noticed, yet at the same time, how afraid they are of being too vulnerable. Social media has given people a mask to hide behind, and indirect posts are one of the most common ways to wear that mask. So, the next time you see someone posting an indirect message, remember that it's not just words on a screen. It's often a glimpse into someone's heart. It's a way of speaking without speaking, a sign that something is going on beneath the surface. And maybe, just maybe, it's an opportunity to look closer and understand what they're truly trying to say.